Hello and welcome to a conversation on the Daily Bern. I'm your host, Eric Miller, joined today by an awesome progressive, challenging an incumbent Democrat, kind of a lazy corporate incumbent Democrat in California, Mr. David Kim. How you doing, David?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Eric. I am doing great today. We have about 41 days left, but doing everything possible right now.
Awesome. Yeah, we were going to talk yesterday, and the schedule got mixed up for anyone that was tuning in. So forgive me for that. But yeah, so it's the California District 34, which I'll pull up a map of. But we'll talk about the incumbent, a little bit about your platform. You're an immigration attorney. I want to get your thoughts on ICE and all that type of thing. But just the news of the day is the Breonna Taylor case. Just give me your thoughts on that, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's very ridiculous, inhumane, horrible that no one was charged for Breonna Taylor's death, and for her murder. As we know, the grand jury just decided to do 2 wanton endangerment counts, which relate to aimlessly shooting through windows. But no, that's not enough. Like, that there are clearly people behind on the other side. Like, why would you not know and just aimlessly shoot? That's definitely not right, and it totally makes sense that people are already in the streets peacefully protesting with that, and I myself will be joining later tonight too.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I mean, it's really a bummer. I mean, just with every day of 2020 that goes by, and again, we have this news today too.
Yeah, and the 6 months it took, and I've been seeing some real succinct messages that are super powerful. That property, a wall, literally a wall, was worth bringing up charges against rather than a human being that was murdered, right? Endangerment of a wall versus the murder of a human, a black woman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just uh, heartbreaking. So let's talk about your campaign and your race. So it's California's 34th. You're in the general against the Democratic incumbent. I'm going to give your website several times. It's davidkim2020.com. You don't take any corporate PAC money, otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you. Your progressive platform, and we'll get through a bunch of that stuff. But what initially inspired you to challenge the incumbent or to run?
Yeah, Eric. With that being said, since you had just asked about Breonna Taylor, for those in Los Angeles who are wondering, there will be a protest across Union Station tonight. So for those who are wondering what's happening, and yeah, go join your local one, speak out. But yes, Eric, I am running for U.S. Congress here in CA-34. It covers downtown LA, Koreatown, Eagle Rock, Highland Park, and other surrounding neighborhoods. And I am running up against a corporate incumbent who does the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum. I know that my team went to go see what he had sponsored, but there wasn't that much to show forth for it. And here in California, he's a perfect example of the career corporate politician that we have here in California, where they simply play musical chairs with the seats here, whether it be with city council, county supervisor, assembly, state position, or Congress. And it's really got to stop. Where the California Democratic Party is just putting people that look like people from the community but aren't fighting for the community, that aren't legislating in the chambers of DC for the people, but merely they do whatever the major party leadership tells them to do. They follow in line, and that's that. And so to continue re-electing corporate career establishments are what we will continue to fight against if we continue doing it, because this system is what enables these private prisons that profit off of human suffering. This establishment is what enables mass incarceration. This establishment is what enables police brutality, oppression of our communities, because they're all in it for the money. Why would our opponent really fight for those causes when his corporate interests and donors are against it? Why would he fight for Medicare for all tooth and nail and not just say it by lip service? Because he has corporate interests from pharmaceutical companies and healthcare companies. He preaches free college education and how important schooling and education is, yet he takes money from payday lenders and student debt collectors. And so in a time like this where communities are being oppressed, where financial depression is now slowly metastasizing to different communities all around, where our district is the 10th poorest district in the nation, and we have per capita incomes that are less than the average rent of a one-bedroom apartment, it makes you wonder, why do we continue electing these people into office and we see no change? And if you think about it, Eric, like, we haven't had a worldwide major conflict, and I'm not downlittling Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, the other wars, but something like World War II, we haven't had that since the 50s, end of the 40s. And so when you think about it, what's led us to the state that we're in wasn't some external conflict. It's our leaders in DC that have led us here by their poor leadership over the past 40 years. And this is where we're at. And so now it's time for us to wake up and realize, oh, a representative form of government is one where people from all different walks, occupations, stories, socioeconomic levels of life come and run for office. And that's how we stay connected with the pulse of what our communities are like and what our people are like. Because once you become a career politician and once you become sold out to your corporate interests, you become so disconnected that you don't know what you're fighting for. Right. There needs to be something that you're passionately fighting for. But if you're just spending your time in office doing the bare minimum, then no, get out, because our communities are dying and suffering. We don't want you to suddenly keep in line and check during re-election season time for the 6 months. No, we want you to be that all year round during your term in office. Yeah. And so that's why I'm running, and we have a really strong chance, Eric. There's 41 days left. We placed second out of 5 candidates in the March election. And so collectively, the 3 other challengers and I, the 4 of us, we won a collective 48% of the primary vote. The incumbent won a 52%. And so it's really us playing the math and really being strategic about how to win. And so we're on track. We just need to keep on going for the last 41 days and put in our all.
You got to run through that finish tape, if you will. I want to ask about your platform, and you have a nice title for it, but something you said there made me curious. You said, about having candidates that look like the district, right? So the incumbent is Jimmy Gomez, and, I was looking at the demographics of the district, and it's largely Hispanic and Asian, right? In the district. So is that a cynical ploy to get kind of a figurehead, sort of, I hate to use the word token, but there's a party back someone who is Hispanic and use that basically to appease the base without like, oh, well, look, it's performative, it's empty, right? It's just a identity candidate. Is that, I didn't really look into it, but is that a cynical reality in the district with the party establishment?
It is definitely becoming one, Eric, because it looks like the California Democratic Party over the years has really been, I mean, it's been helpful in many ways in previous years, but in recent years, really kind of putting people that look like those in the community, putting Black and brown people in office as sort of puppets of the Democratic Party, saying, hey, we are keen of and aware of what your interests are, and we're fighting for you, but they're really not. Because right. When you go look at the legislation, what they fight for and what they're standing for, you don't see anything. There's nothing right. There's nothing of the level of Representative Ilhan Omar Ocasio-Cortez where you see something that they're passionately standing for. When you think of Representative Ilhan Omar, immediately you think of homes guarantee, or that's what I think of. Immediately I think of cancel rent and mortgage. Again, 2 policies that our opponent has never said anything about to this day. He might mention something in the days to come because it's re-election season time, just like how we called him out with his lack of speaking out and supporting the MORE Act, the SAFE Act, the States Act in regards to cannabis. After we spoke out about that, several days later, he then co-sponsored it. So it's not, we don't want an incumbent and a person in office who's only acting when he should be in the way he should be during re-election season time. No, we want that all around. Why do we always have to have somebody run to challenge you to make sure you do your job?
Right.
But we understand because his hands are tied because of what he has in corporate interests, and with what he's doing with the immigrant communities here, with the Latino communities and the Asian communities here, is he's saying, hey, I'm also fighting for the immigrant communities, and this is what I know and I'm familiar with. But why are you voting to initially fund and authorize ICE? Why are you voting to increase that every year? Why? Like, do actions speak louder than words. The people are sick and tired of words. And so I get it. When we do get out the vote calls and call constituents and they hear that we're a campaign, immediately people want to hang up the phone. And I get it, because they've lost so much trust in government. They re-elect people all the time and they see no change. So to them, it's just salespeople who are just calling. And so it's this lack of distrust and suffering that we're working with in our district. That's very important still to address, because if we don't, then who else will? And I know that a lot of us, we've been waiting around for somebody to come along. But I think what I learned in 2018 when I campaigned for Kenneth Bahia, who ran for the same spot I'm running for now against the same opponent, what I learned from him and campaigning for him, I campaigned for him hardcore. He was a Green Party member. And I actually joined the Green Party for a year because he asked me to join the Green Party. And I was like, sure, I don't care about party stuff. Like, as long as you're 100% grassroots, people powered, that's what I'm for. And so I helped him. Unfortunately, he lost, but Kenneth did a really great job. He won 28% of the total vote of the general election. And in our district is a Bernie progressive district. A majority are Democratic voters. That means a third of Democratic voters voted for the Green Party member and not their own Democratic elected official. And so that says a lot. And so what I learned from Kenneth's campaign is you have a voice and it's there for you to use it and to speak up. And while trying to get Kenneth to run again, he wouldn't run again. And so I ran. And so here I am.
Yeah, that's great. And we could spend a lot of time talking about the incumbent and what you're fighting against, right? But let's talk about what you're fighting for, right? And it's a blessing to have two Democrats in the general, right? Maybe we'd be blessed to have that, everywhere. But so people legitimately, there's no fear of like, Republicans going to take it or you're throwing away your vote. Anything. You can actually vote for what you want, right? And David Kim is running on a progressive platform. And you give it a succinct title, which is a floor to stand on. So give me like an overview of what a floor to stand on is.
Yes, thank you for noticing that, Eric. I love that. Yes, so in a time like this, where we have a 35+ year income wage stagnation, where masses of people pre-COVID were living paycheck to paycheck each month with less than $400 in savings. In a time like this, what's important is to elect people to office who are really fighting for the government. And so if you think of the government, a government really exists of the people, for the people, and by the people. And so what that means is the people should be taken care of right now, especially during this pandemic, especially when we have 50+ million people without health insurance suddenly because they have no jobs. And so what's important is when an elected official says they're fighting for you and they're loving the people, we need to make sure that that's followed up with action. And so when I say I love you to my parents, to my boyfriend, to my brother, there's always action behind it, something that shows forth for it. And so when an elected official says that, it means ensuring that our people don't have to worry about where to sleep, what to eat, access to healthcare and education, paying basic expenses. And so there really needs to be FDR's New Deal type of situation going on right now, especially during these times. Otherwise, we're going to continue spiraling downwards. And so a floor to stand on is providing every American a floor to stand on, giving them the chance to create a better life and opportunity, the one that they've imagined and envisioned before immigrating here, or to continue on what their parents were living in as well. And so a floor to stand on is ensuring that every American has those means and is able to go ahead and start being able to thrive and being able to access into what it was that they were born into life to do, their life purpose and calling. And so it's guaranteeing a universal basic income, a homes guarantee, a Medicare for all, Green New Deal, free higher education, immigration reform, a track to citizenship program, because it doesn't make sense that we have millions and millions of undocumented people contributing to our society, paying taxes, but not receiving the benefits of being a real taxpayer and member of society. And also in terms of in regards to a constituent political accountability bill, where we're ensuring that our officials are actually doing their jobs, where they have their notion of government is this, where they're going to DC and legislating amongst themselves, their own behind closed doors in their own circles, and then doing what their party heads at the top say, a couple people, and then legislating come back to say, hey, this is what we did. Oh, I'll take questions. Oh, sorry, we can't change it. We already voted for it. But yeah, I'll have my caseworker look into that for you. But yeah, these are the crumbs we got you. That's not government.
Right,
like
right.
They need to understand that they need to be consistently in dialogue with their constituents in community town halls, in constituent one-on-one meetings, asking them, hey, what is your opinion on this legislation that's about to happen, and co-governing with the people, and then going to DC to articulate the people's wants, and then coming back to report. And so this constituent political accountability bill would require every single US representative. And I know it sounds that we have to baby them, but unfortunately we've come to the state where we have to baby our officials and make sure that they're logging in their monthly town halls, that they're making it accessible at any time, at any moment, where they're able to then record whether or not they've went over legislation with their constituents and then come back to DC to report it. Like, this is government. But so far, up until now, the people have been left in the dark. And so it's ensuring all of these things in a floor to stand on, and ensuring that our people really have the opportunity to see light at the end of the tunnel, to wake up in freedom and empowerment, because that's what the government should be doing for the people right now, but it hasn't been. So
Right.
that's what our floor to stand on is.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. And that's, that's the progressive platform. You mentioned town halls. Ro Khanna does that. Ro Khanna in California has monthly town halls, and he's very diligent about that. And then you hear other House members that almost never have them, if ever. They live outside the district, et cetera, et cetera. I like that. I like that bill. And it's not an independent third party watch group. It's more like, like you said, directly between the constituents and their elected people elected to supposedly represent them. So, well, I love that. I love to learn more about that. Talking about that floor to stand on, would that presumably also include like universal broadband? I know that's a hot topic now that people are working from home and homeschooling and such.
Yeah, that's definitely something in our other issues. When you go and check out our davidkim2020.com and look through the issues, that's definitely in there, not in the floor to stand on, but as part of our platform, because we need to ensure that in a day and age like this, that people, every household has internet access to be able to work and to be able to get education and schooling in those digital means that we have to have right now. So it's really ensuring that everyone's included, and that's also our unhoused communities as well, because it's just been a blind eye to our unhoused communities where they're not seen as human beings but more as ghosts. And that's got to stop as well, especially here in Los Angeles. And so with here in Los Angeles, homelessness crisis and our unhoused residents and lack of affordable housing hasn't been addressed by our congressmen. And we have the biggest unhoused communities in the country here in Los Angeles, and it has been addressed. And with all the pay to play schemes going on with city politics, somebody needs to shine a light, and that's the federal elected positions job to do. And so that's what I also hope to do once getting into office.
Excellent. I usually like to share the candidate's district because there's crazy gerrymandering, and I pull up a map of the district, and I usually make my own, and it looks horrible. And in this case, I didn't have to, because you have an amazing one on your website. So I'm just going to share that. Your website's really slick looking. Again, it's David Kim 2020. Let me see if I can't find the tab here.
Yeah. So if you look in the lower right part is downtown. So sort of the bottom corner of the backwards L is downtown. The parts to the left of it are Westlake, MacArthur Park, Koreatown, Pico West, and then the top part of the L is Chinatown, Eagle Rock, Highland Park, LaSalle Park, Lincoln Heights, Boyle Heights, and other neighborhoods. So yeah, it's a big district.
Cool. Yeah, so if you're in California's 34th, this go to David Kim 2020. It's very explicitly outlined here. And while you're here, of course, hit this little donate button and send David a couple of bucks, right? Grassroots campaigns need money.
Yes.
You can volunteer here. I assume you have text banking and phone banking and so forth, right?
Yes. And those are very powerful because human to human connection is key.
Awesome. And your Florida stand on is outlined there as well. So go check out David Kim 2020 to learn more about his platform and so forth. Let's talk a little bit about ICE and immigration. I understand you have a background. You're an immigration attorney. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So tell us your position on abolish ICE, on immigration reform. What would you do about that?
Yeah. So what? Excuse me. So I defend respondents in immigration court when they receive their notice to appear, and then also fight and apply and help them apply for asylum and seek that. What's going on right now is something that shouldn't be going on in regards to treating, first of all, those who are already residing in our country, who've already come here to seek refuge and shelter, who've come here to seek a better opportunity to escape fear and terror at home, and those are people that we could at least be taking care of, but we're on this sort of hunt to strip them of all rights possible, but then have them contribute to our society, and if not, then take them out and send them back. And so with regards to ICE, what needs to happen is the first thing that we need to absolutely do is abolish it. There's no need for it to be with law enforcement ripping apart our families, going ahead and doing surgeries that they're not qualified to do and allowing that, flying people over planes because of passenger quota. It's just, you can just see that it's all chaos inside, and yet we're continuing to fund it. The establishment on both sides continue to fund it, and it's just something that boggles my mind to understand. We don't even need this. This is not necessary. What we need is immigration reform, where we're actually doing things, not automatically resorting to this policing idea that we have with the oppression of our Black and brown communities, like with the whole defund the police movement, in that where we're not increasing safety by increasing policing. No, we're increasing safety by making sure that everybody's being taken care of, that each community has resources. That's what we should be doing. And so on the national side, it's not a matter of policing more, it's ensuring, hey, what communities and undocumented people of ours in whichever communities are contributing, who has been contributing, and what can we do for them and include them to being part of America, and having them also achieve the American dream in that. And so what we had under the Obama era, and I'm not saying that Obama was a great president, because under him so many were deported as well, but under the Obama era, what we had was called prosecutorial discretion, where if you received a notice of removal, judges would have the discretion to sort of close your case if you had an ITIN number and you've been paying taxes for several years, you have a good clean record, no criminal charges, and you have references and letters of rec from your community, pastors and whatnot, then they would just close your case and bam, you're good. But that is long gone the first day that it was long gone the first day that Trump became president. That should be actually codified into law, where we're actually ensuring that those people who have been living here for 10, 20, 30 years, who have been contributing and paying taxes, also get to take part in this great country called America. And so we need to ensure that there is a pathway to citizenship program that's happening otherwise we're enabling these same people to continue experiencing wage theft, to continue experience horrible working conditions, to continue experiencing this inability to actually make a living and to establish something that's for their families. Because if they're always worried about getting fired from a job, and which they are, and then left with nothing, with just more pain and injuries, physical and emotional injuries that they can't be accounted for, what are we doing as a country that says that we're a shelter for the weak and the poor and those who need it? So that's the first and foremost what we need to do. And then I know that we've had some recent wins, but we still need to fight harder, even with the Supreme Court case with the DACA. After that case, DACA recipients now have to actually apply. I think it's every 1 year instead of 2 years. They have more travel restrictions. And so these realities aren't the realities that we know on a mass level. And so we still need to fight. DACA shouldn't be left to the whims of which administration comes in because of a political campaign. And we shouldn't be playing with the lives of so many people. So with that, that's also in a perspective that I help bring in into this race, Eric, because I feel that a lot of our representatives don't have the knowledge, don't care enough, haven't had the background to really push something forceful that our immigrant communities need right now.
That's amazing. And that's what you would do if you got into the House of Representatives. You would start pushing forward, writing legislation to include any and all of what you just sort of laid out there.
Yes.
You'd be the champion for that. Whereas Jimmy Gomez has voted for Trump's military budget, increased it, gave him space for it.
Yes.
For his trade deal.
And that whole thing, Eric, if I may comment.
Please.
I want people to remember that the House Democrats voted to fund the 2020 defense budget of $733 billion, even though the Republicans then raised it to $738 billion. So the House Democrats voted $733 billion. Every single, or not every single, because there are a couple that didn't, but even self-alleged progressives like my opponent. So for them to then do this symbolic reelect me campaign act of defunding the Pentagon by 10%, that is, when just a couple months ago they just voted 733 billion. So we the people just need to really wake up and realize they obviously knew that this wasn't going to pass, but to help with their re-election campaigns, they did it. Well, at least that's the first step. I mean, if that's what it takes to get what we want, then at least that's the slow progress that we'll take. But it's pitiful, Eric. But I am still very hopeful, and we can still continue to be hopeful because we have been growing this whole movement.
And that 10% would have taken it back. It wouldn't even have been pre-Trump level. It still would have been raised, and they just gave him Space Force as a win, right? Just here you go.
Yeah.
No issue, right? So suffice it to say, if you end up in House of Representatives, you would not suddenly start taking giant checks from raising.
No.
Yeah, of course not. I would just like to throw that out there, because people, there's a difference, right? There are these candidates that take that money, and the military industrial complex never really gets called out on it, and it's bipartisan, right? That's why the military budget goes through every time uncontested. You have a handful, like you said, that vote against it, but by and large, they just sign and move on to the next year's, right? And it's offensive, but you would not be that. So
no.
In California's 34th, David Kim would not be someone that represents the military budget, which is
I think the power of the people is something that never to underestimate or to push aside at all, and the co-governing of the people. And this is where Tulsi Gabbard shares in her podcast with Joe Rogan, where she says that to have a grassroots people-powered campaign is disruptive to the world of politics in DC, because the moment you're elected, you have to start raising money and getting money for the Democratic Party and getting money from corporate interests. And if you don't, then they'll pull the corporate interests and donors away from you, because in reality, campaigns and how you win is determined by how much money you're able to raise from corporate interests and win. But if you don't need that, and all you need is the people's vote, they have nothing to sink their teeth in to pull you down with. And it's like, oh, David's going rogue. Oh, we can't do it because the people are who elected him in the first place, so they'll just reelect him again. And so And so that's why it's disruptive. And so, and I think the people, we just need to realize how much power we actually do have. Like
Right.
when I think it's a matter of like just us being reminded, like when I was little, I would go to my dad, and I was a new kid at high school a lot, Eric, and my dad would remind me, they are just as human as you. They have the same fears. You have value, and you're just as important. Speak up. You have a voice, and like it always brings me back to that. Like we as the people collectively, we have a voice too, and we matter. And so it's realizing that not just on an individual level, but on a collective matter, where when we're demanding stuff, it's not like, oh, can we really demand that? But what is that our right to? Yes, it's our right. The government was formed because of the people. And so we've just been brainwashed to think otherwise, to think, oh, is it okay to ask? Of course it's okay to ask. We're the people. Sorry, I got a little passionate there, but.
No, I love it. No, I
Yeah.
love it. Let me just pull this up one more time. So
Yeah.
website, David Kim 2020. Please go donate, volunteer. You know, this is a winnable race. It's a Democratic district, right? You can actually vote for an uncorrupt advocate that will fight for you. And, you know, I threw it out as a joke, but he's not going to get in office and do a pivot, as they say, right? He's not going to do returns to corporate donors, right? And we can have a people-centered, you know, unbought and unbossed. You know, you said about being, what did you say, disruptive, right? A disruptor. You know, that's, you know, in a performative sense, the centrist corporate establishment likes to exalt people like John Lewis. You know, nothing. You know, John Lewis spoke often of good trouble. This is good trouble, right? This is exactly what he meant. Good trouble, right? Getting unbought people into office to disrupt, you know, the corporate stranglehold on our House of Representatives. And you know, David could do that in California's 34th, which is we showed the district, Los Angeles area. So, you know, thank you for running, and thanks for you know, thanks for sharing that bit about your dad. I love that. So it's David Kim 2020. Again, the election is on November 3rd. It's the general, right? Any
Yes.
chance of a debate? Have you engaged Mr. Gomez in a debate or reached out or anything?
No, I know that different supporters have reached out to request a debate. He hasn't appeared. We were all together invited to a debate back in October or November, I believe. It was October, but he didn't attend. He didn't attend one that was hosted by a different group and invited Kenneth and Jimmy as well. But I mean, I'm always for it. In our political constituent accountability bill, there will also be a debate portion as well.
God, that's so cool.
Because every congressional race must have a debate. It just doesn't make sense to not have one. And I think that's where we really need to really put the Democratic back into government, because it's not what it is right now. And so, yeah, that's the first start to going ahead and ensuring that we're having elected officials that are being kept more accountable, in what they do and in the campaigns that they hold and the promises that they deliver as well.
Love it. Love it. I always encourage people too. There's no harm in reaching out to the incumbent and encouraging them to engage in the debate. You know, we're just 41 days out, so you know, time's running out, but can't hurt, right? To ping him and send him a note, call his office, Representative Gomez, and insist on the debate politely. You know, that's what democracy is supposed to be about, right? As you said. So, yeah, thank you for running. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. Again, David Kim 2020. This is California's 34th district. Very winnable, safe Democratic seat. Should claims to be a progressive district. Put your money where your mouth is, right? Let's get David in the House, and let's have him start working on this immigration legislation. God, how amazing would that be? How many lives would that benefit? Just amazing. So, yeah, I think, you know, thank you for running. Thanks for taking some time to chat with me. Anything that we didn't hit on that you want to touch on? Or any final
Yes,
words?
no. I think that was a great just summary of an interview and in a nutshell. And thank you so much, Eric, for giving me the time to be on here. Yes, just like you shared, davidkim2020.com, you can sign up to volunteer. We have 41 days left till November 3rd general election, we have about 12 days left till when the mail-in ballots are being sent out. And so we do need support in sending out our last batches of mailers and getting some digital ads up. And so as all of you might know, for grassroots candidates, money's a big thing that doesn't allow us to really fight head to head with the incumbent. But we're very hopeful. Like what Eric said, it's definitely a winnable race. And it looks like it is because our opponent is sweating right now. So he's doing stuff he hasn't done. So it's a good thing. Cool. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. So go send David $10, $20, $100. Grassroots campaign needs your help. David Kim 2020. Thank you, sir. Talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Eric. Bye-bye.